The suspect involved in an intense standoff with police last night is still in the hospital tonight, where he is listed in critical condition. Police were called to a restaurant near the intersection of Baldwin and Agnes Street around 5:30 yesterday evening to help with a vehicle pursuit. Officers say a kidnapping suspect was holding a woman and a one-year-old child from Oklahoma against their will. Tire spikes were laid on Baldwin Street, where the car came to a stop. That's when the man ran inside the restaurant, taking the child with him. Police say that he shot himself. The child was not hurt. The suspect's identity has not yet been released. Well, there were a number of agencies involved in the initial pursuit, including the San Patricio County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Oscar Rivera said the driver had actually called the department's 911 center during the chase in an attempt to have their units back off. The suspect stated that he was armed with a gun and a bomb and that he wanted to, quote, see the ocean. The sheriff also thanked CCPD for their work during the situation.